So let's start with this one. It's 4.2a.4 on the course page, Hydroelectric Power Generation from our frenemies at IELTS. Okay, if you're new to this, let's talk about the format of writing task 1 academic. Okay, in your introduction, you're going to do two things. First part is the context, which just means you paraphrase the prompt. Second part is the general overview. And this is a summary of the main patterns, or in this case, parts of the diagram. Okay, and then you're going to have between 1 and 3 body paragraphs. Okay, there's lots of ways you can do it, but it's basically the same as your general overview. So if you divide this diagram up into 2 parts, for example, then you're going to have 2 body paragraphs that reflect those 2 parts of the general overview. So just on a quick glance of this, let me see how big I can get this. Okay. Okay, so Nereza, why don't I ask you, how would you divide up this diagram? What are the processes that you notice here?
Really, I understand what about on this picture, but explain it's more harder for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's from water, how water make electricity. I understand that water turn the turbines and it's like make electricity.
Okay, so good, that's 1 sentence, 10 more to go. Okay, water turns the turbines and makes electricity. All right, what happens before that point in the process?
We see how it's sun warm the water, water go to the clouds, and from clouds it's make rain, and after we have not from sea, reservoir, like water where it's I don't know how it's named, and
all the vocabulary that you need is in the diagram. You should use this vocabulary. Most of this you're not going to paraphrase. You're going to use the vocab that's here on the page.
Okay. Rain goes to reservation and reservoir. Mm-hmm. And from reservoir, water go dam go up and down. Yeah, if I understand.
Goes up.
Oh no! Wall open and close, and water goes to the turbine. Mm-hmm. And a turbine like make electricity. I don't know how it's
yes.
Yeah, make electricity, and from go on like high voltage cable, go to station, transformer station, and from transformer go to the different like underground cables. Mm-hmm. To the hospitals, schools, houses, and different
factories, it looks like.
Sorry?
It just looks like factories, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Factories, home, yeah. But I don't understand. Was it dam? Dam, it's like wall?
Yes.
Oh, and while open close, it's like open close to water go or stay
Yeah,
stay
it's
on the
just
reservoir.
like your sink. Yeah. Okay, and then you missed one part.
That from turbine, the I think maybe water go electricity go to high voltage cable and water goes back to pump.
Mm-hmm.
Get back to pump and back in reservoir.
Reservoir.
Right, reservoir.
That's it. Yeah, very good. So it's not rocket science. You just have to talk about all the steps that are part of the process. This one's pretty straightforward, right? Marcel, how many paragraphs would you divide this into?
We can divide in 3 paragraphs or 2.
Okay. What would they be?
The introduction and explain about overall, and then first paragraph talking about how the electricity is made, is product.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other one saying about the water cycle. Yeah, the rain, evaporation.
Okay. So would you put that first or second or last? What order would you put it in? What would you start with?
Yeah, you could, because it's not the main information, the most important information.
Mm-hmm.
You can explain that due to this cycle, the reservoir goes up and down,
Mm-hmm.
and then provide water for the electricity. Okay, so it's separate the reservoir from the sea. There is a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have to first start saying that the sun hits the water and then happen the evaporation,
Mm-hmm.
which rains in the reservoir. So it makes the reservoir full of water,
Mm-hmm.
and then the hydropower use this water to produce electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think you can use just one paragraph. You don't need 2 paragraphs for it.
Okay. Why don't we do a similar process to what we did in the classroom, which is to, because you're writing on computer, you can start by labeling this process in point form, change the point form into simple sentences, and then put those simple sentences together into complex sentences.
Uh-huh.
And so this is a different way of writing. It might work for you. It might help you avoid some mistakes related to longer sentences. Then you can look at the sentences and decide if you want to put them together or if you don't want to put them together, depending on how confident you are that you're doing it correctly. So let's just try this out. And I'm going to go in a circle and just ask each of you to give 1 point and 1 point only, and then the next person can give the following point. So at the top of my list right now, let's You know what, Marcella, since you were talking already, why don't you give the first point?
Yeah.
And I suggest going in the order that you started in.
Uh-huh. The sun hit the seawater. It's the seawater.
Okay, Narisa? So I'm not going to...
The,
Okay, go ahead.
the water evaporation to the cloud.
The water evaporates
To the cloud or in clouds. How it's
Can you be a little bit more precise? Because the water doesn't really evaporate into the clouds. What are the clouds made of?
From
The clouds are made of water, right?
yeah, made from clouds.
So what verb would be appropriate?
Evaporates maybe to the clouds.
You need a different verb to... I don't want to say it. It's a very simple verb, but the water that's evaporating... Okay.
And make the clouds.
Okay.
Made.
And
Sorry.
we're going to use the word forms. Okay. Dina.
Yes, so now we reach that the water evaporates and forms a cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Then rain occurs over the reservoir.
Over the... Okay, rain occurs. We don't really say rain occurs. What verb do we use for rain?
Falls.
Rain falls and... We need a verb.
And the water is collected, and the water is collected in the reservoir. Collected and collects in the reservoir.
Okay, and the pronunciation, this is a French word.
Yeah.
So we use the French pronunciation, reservoir.
Reservoir.
Yeah. Reservoir.
So rain falls and collects in the reservoir.
Yeah. Oksana.
The reservoir water fixing by dam and valve
What did you say? The reservoir water fixing?
I don't know. I have to find another word. Not fixing. Controlling by dam or valve. Because usually, actually, the dam and valve. Fixing the water, right? The specific number of water which goes to the turbine.
Maybe the reservoir water is controlled by?
Okay. Okay, is controlled by, let's see where this goes.
Is controlled by dam and valve. Valve.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about this one, but let's just keep moving, okay? We don't have to get it perfect, we just have to get all the parts down first to make sure that we satisfy the task achievement criteria, which is to describe all of the main steps. Okay, Marcella.
The control, okay.
Sure.
So the water goes through the turbine.
Goes, did you say to or through? To?
Goes through, doesn't matter. Through the turbine.
Okay. Narisa?
Okay, I need to go follow the water or follow the electricity.
Well, it says the water goes to the turbine, so what's the next step?
Okay,
What does the turbine do?
turbine circle, water circle the turbine and make electricity, which follow to the 5-voltage cables.
Okay, so we'll just stop there for now. And if you don't know, just put 3 dots or an underscore and just keep moving. Okay, we'll just keep going until we get all the steps and we'll fix it afterwards. Dina.
Yes. So due to the here the turbines, we say either spins or moves.
So
and,
that's
here,
a good verb. So we'll put that here. Water spins the turbine.
spins the turbine.
Okay. So
How
Dina,
we can do it passive voice? The turbine is span.
S-P-U-N, yes.
S-P-U-N, okay.
Is spun by the water.
And here electricity is produced or created.
Sure. We've got here, it makes electricity in the previous step.
Oh, it makes
you can word this differently in the final version. We're just going to go through all the steps.
Okay, let us finish with water. The rest of the water after passing the turbine.
Okay, after passing
the turbine.
Passing through the turbine.
Through the turbine.
Because
water
on the road, a car passes you, but the water passes through the turbine, right?
The
passing
turbine.
Through
the water goes to the pump.
Okay, Narisa?
Okay, prepare just about goes to the pump. From pump, the water go back to reservoir.
What verb?
Go back.
Okay.
Hold on.
Goes back to the. Okay, Marcella.
So we have to return to the turbine. Okay, when the electricity is made and goes to high voltage cables in the tower, on the energy tower.
For the system, we call it power, as you said, power grid.
Power grid, like grid is this shape. Like the roads are in a grid, like math paper. So the power grid is just the collection of all the cables in the city that distribute electricity.
Power energy.
So these things are actually called pylons. P-Y-L-O-N-S.
Or we can say electric tower.
Electric tower, or they're specifically called pylons. Pylons are those small, like orange triangles that you can use on the road if you need to direct people around some kind of obstruction. But these big towers are also called pylons. High voltage. Okay, so electricity goes through high voltage cables. Dina.
Okay, so subsequently, these long distance power lines are connected with the transformer station. Connected with
Station. Okay. Oksana?
Okay, and then the electricity transferred to the electricity transferred through the underground cables to the hospitals, schools, or are urban or suburban areas. I don't know. Can we use urban and suburban areas?
Well, there's nothing about urban and suburban
Exactly,
areas.
just hospitals and schools, yeah.
And what do those two other diagrams show?
Actually, I don't know. The smallest one, it's like the house, and the third one, yes, it's a house. I don't know.
Yeah.
House, yeah, houses, and the second
maybe
one, what is that?
factory.
Or maybe. Oh, okay.
Factories. Yeah.
Can we say by to the user or to end users?
Yes. So, Oksana, watch out for passive voice. The electricity
Yeah, it's
is,
transferred.
yeah, to the end users. Right,
Yeah,
that's who
end
we are.
users. Yeah. We say to end users direct or with the before or to the user.
It doesn't matter. We can say to end users. Okay, and that's the end. That's it. The whole thing's done. We've hit every single step here.
It is important to count the steps here and to write it like 6 steps, or if it is not clear, shall we leave it like this?
How many stages?
Stages.
I would only mention the number of stages in the general overview.
Yes, I know, but I mean here, how many? How many? For me, maybe I counted maybe.
How many paragraphs?
2.
2. So 2 stages.
For me, I would write starting from the sun heat up to turbine. I mean, all related to the water. And then for second paragraph from turbine, the electricity out and to the end user.
That's what I would do. Did that make sense for everyone?
Yeah.
So everything up to the turbine, pump, bringing the water back, and then the second stage would be the electricity from the turbine to the end users. So that's what needs to go in your general overview. Okay, so let's start. So we know what needs to go in the intro.
It is mixed. It's the first 2 steps, maybe it is natural, like it's happened by sun, and the others is man-made. So better we will not say, I mean, will not mention this is man-made process or this is natural, because it's mixed.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do is in the chat, first I'd like you to paraphrase the prompt. Okay, so the first stage is always, they give you this general description of what we're talking about. First step is always just put that in your own words. That is your first sentence. Okay, so if, let me just find the chat box. Oops. Okay, so enter your paraphrase in the chat, and I'll give you maybe 3 minutes to do that. Okay, looks like everyone just posted their paraphrases. Let's check them out. Okay. By using water. Okay, very nice. Good stuff. Creation of water to electricity. Good. Water produce electric power. Okay, electric power. Hydroelectric power. It's not a power, it's just hydroelectric power. Okay, good. Next step is the general overview. So we're dividing it. This is the second body paragraph. Everything else is going to be the first body paragraph. So your general overview needs to summarize that these are the two parts of your description. Okay. So I'll give you another 2-3 minutes to write the general overview. And you can mention that it's composed of 2 stages. Water here is not wrong, it's just not needed.
Can I change one thing?
Sorry, say again?
Can I change one thing? Mine is wrong because it's not energy production, it's sonorizing.
It is energy,
Yeah,
but it's not specific enough.
yeah.
Okay, if you want to just retype it there or redo it, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Ian,
Mm-hmm.
so here, this one. Starting with the water, no need the?
You don't need it.
With water, okay.
Yeah, that's good.
But otherwise good being.
Yep. All fuzz is the next one. Ending with production of electrical energy. So this is not the last step. Okay, so that's going to be a problem if you write that. Because the production of electricity is this step, and then you've got everything else that's missing still.
So I should add being distributed to end users?
Yes, that needs to be there.
Yeah.
So the first one is good. Whoops.
How could I correct that? So like ending with production of electrical energy to be distributed to end users, or being to be, okay.
Or ending with electricity. Oh, exactly the way Dina did it is fine.
Oh, okay.
And ending with, the simple way would just be distribution to end users. Whoops, not sewers, that's something different. And it's almost always beginning with. Okay, just by convention, process begins with. Don't need the here. So this is for Oksana. Goes through different stages. You're not talking about specific stages. Remember, the word the is like pointing a finger at something. Right, so no need to use it here. Just goes through different stages to make electricity from water.
I have the same mistakes all the time.
Vaporization. Not really vaporization. Vaporize is like, that's from a cartoon when, you know, the bad guy uses a laser cannon to vaporize a planet.
Evaporation?
Yes, evaporation is the
Mhm.
word you want. Starting with evaporation, whoops, and ending with electricity. Nope, that's not the end. And ending with,
Maybe electricity being transferred
yeah.
to the user.
Oksana, are you
Yes,
there?
I'm here. Mhm.
Okay, so how do we end this?
And ending with, because the electricity is transferred to the users, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and how to...
Yeah, what you just said. So
Mhm.
we'll have to do it like this way, like Dina said, with electricity being
Transferred to the users. Transferred to the users.
to end users.
Mhm.
You don't
Thank
need to say the because you're not pointing at any specific
Mhm.
users. It's just general end users.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see, Marcella's here. Only one we're missing is Nariza's.
Yeah.
Again, don't need the. Composed. Composed.
Of
Hang on, who wrote this? Marcella. Composed?
Composed to?
Nope.
Composed of.
Composed of. Composed by would be, this piece was composed by Mozart. Like a composer. But this is composed of two processes. Filled up in. The first one is the process is not about this is the process. So you can't separate the two with that kind of language. This is the process. The first one is the reservoir being filled up and the water running and driving the turbine to produce electricity. And the water running sometimes you can get in trouble by saying too much. Actually, not sometimes, a lot of the time. Could you just get rid of two words here in this sentence to make this clearer? Just don't change
The
it.
water driving the turbine.
That's it. The first rule of editing is just to ask yourself, can I say the same thing with fewer words? If you can, the answer is always do it. Delivery of this energy. Okay, good. I would use electricity instead of energy, though. Because energy is more general than electricity. Okay, good. Nerissa, are you going to post yours, or are you just...
No, sorry, I pass.
Sorry, say again?
Sorry, I pass.
Okay, you want to pass? No problem.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got, any of these are fine. Any of these are fine too. Oh yes, your paraphrase here you can see the whole process of making electricity from water. Okay, standard way to do this, you've got the diagram. So what you're paraphrasing is the diagram shows the process of using water to produce electricity. What's a synonym for diagram?
Picture, table.
In this case, you can see
Illustration.
picture. Yes.
Illustration.
And Nerissa, what is a synonym for shows? Let's just write down the whole sentence, because you really need to paraphrase it and not use the same words that are in the original, because that doesn't show your work, right? So direct paraphrase, the diagram, the illustration. This works surprisingly often, that you can use the exact same structure and just paraphrase anything, paraphrase everything. You don't need to say below, because it's not actually going to be below, so never say that. The illustration, what's a synonym for shows?
Describe.
Okay, you describe using words. So we have another word. See if you can guess it.
I don't know.
Depicts.
Oh, it's new for me.
Okay, the way to remember this is in the middle of that word, you've got picture, right? Picked. That's how to remember it. Depicts is the best synonym for shows. You only need to know that one word.
It's a verb. Depict, it's a verb, kind of like show, yeah?
Yes. If you want the noun, do you want to guess what it is?
Picture.
Depiction.
No? Depiction.
Yes.
What does it mean, depiction?
That's
like
just the
picture?
noun form. How something is shown.
Okay.
Oksana, you would probably use this word. You'd say the opposing parties' depiction of events is somewhat inaccurate.
Thank you.
If husband and wife are arguing about what happened in a divorce case, wife says one thing, husband says another thing, that's when this would be appropriate. Your Honor, or ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the opposing party's depiction of events is somewhat inaccurate, right? Then you would give your accurate portrayal of events. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. The illustration depicts the process of using water to produce electricity. How do we paraphrase that? You've got some good examples there, but how do we do it?
Sorry, what? Can you repeat?
Well, we're here. The diagram shows, so now we need the rest. It's a process, so which word signifies a process?
How?
Yeah. And Nariza, can you finish this sentence?
How to make electricity or electric power
How electric power
makes from seawater.
Let's just say water because it's seawater and then the reservoir. If it's just coming from the rain, it's probably
It's
fresh water.
yeah, for water, yeah.
Now, are you familiar with passive voice? When I say passive voice, do you know what I'm talking about?
When you say it, no, but when you say it correctly, maybe I remember it.
Okay. So you've got verb tenses, you know what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Present tense, past tense.
Yeah.
We don't only have tenses, we also have voice. So active voice, I'll give you a simple classic sentence. The baker bakes the bread at 5 a.m. And this is a baby sentence, right? Because who bakes bread?
Baker.
Only bakers, right? So passive voice is really appropriate when
The bread bakes by the baker. No.
Kind of. The bread is
Baked.
good. Pronunciation baked at 5
Baked.
a.m.
Oh, no need who bakes.
You have to use this form. This is not past tense. This is not past tense. Is baked is present simple passive voice.
Mm-hmm.
Was baked, will be baked. If someone asks you, when was the room cleaned? It was cleaned yesterday. Right? They're not going to say, when did the cleaners clean the room? Right? Because that's redundant. Cleaners clean room, so you don't need to say cleaners. When was the room cleaned? The room was cleaned yesterday at 6 o'clock after work. That's how you use it. Okay, so the illustration depicts how electric power
It's made from water.
That's it. Good. And then, okay, so that's everyone's. Okay, any questions about this part? Let's just get rid of this one so it doesn't confuse anyone. No questions. All right, good. So now we're going to transform our simple sentences into something better. Whoa. So we need transitions, and we got to put these together. Okay. Why don't I give you a few minutes to try the first paragraph? Here, I'm going to paste this in the chat, and then you can put it together on your own, and we'll check them out. It's only a few people, so we can do this today. Okay, you should be able to do it in about 5 minutes, considering all the ideas are there, just in baby form. Okay, let's check these out. So it'll be alphas first. You don't need passive voice here. Active would be better.
Yeah, begins.
Mr. Yan, the last part I combined the two sections, so you can take the lower side part.
Okay.
The last one.
All right. Which is evaporated. Same thing here.
Which evaporates to form clouds. Okay.
I'm not crazy about this part. And this is from above. The reservoir water is controlled by the dam and the valve.
How can I change it? Like,
Well, it's an issue with the original. If we look at the diagram,
yeah,
we're talking about this part here.
I'm not sure that it's really controlled by the valve.
No, the reservoir.
It's connected to the valve and the pump.
But can we be more specific? It's not like the reservoir is controlled by the dam. Yes, it's held back by the dam. But then what is the function of the valve?
That's it, we'll go back to control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when it's opened, the water flows go to the turbine. That's it. Held. Okay.
And what does the valve control, like very specifically? Not just water, but what about the water?
The water flow?
That's it.
Like the amount of water, it controls the amount of water.
Yes.
Water. Held back is a synonym of control, controlled.
Yes. Like if you go to a concert and all the fans are trying to rush at the musician, then the bodyguards will hold back the crowd. Or the police will hold back the crowd.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if you want to mention that, go ahead. To me, it seems pretty obvious, but your choice.
So that is held by.
Let's just go from here. Okay. Tell me what to write next.
Okay. Collected in the reservoir, which is held back by the dam. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about the valve.
Meanwhile, the valve control the water flow. Controls the water flow.
To where?
To the turbine, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we should change even the next part. Following that, this water spin. Oh no, we need turbine to say that it spins it in order to make electricity.
Mm-hmm.
That will be a repetition there, right? Following that, the water.
Well, which direction does the water go in? You could mention that. Tell me about the direction of the water flow.
Uh,
Does the water flow up?
no, goes down, so sure.
Right. Okay. When is the water allowed to go down?
By gravity, when the valve is opened,
Mm-hmm.
or the water could reach the turbine, the water flow.
Turbine.
The turbine, sorry.
A turbine is what people wear on their head.
Okay.
When the valve is open, the water flows
It's
downward.
more French turbine. Yeah.
When the valve is open, the water flows downward to. It's a little bit repetitive, yeah, to reach the turbine.
And spin.
Yep.
Yeah.
In order to make electricity. After passing through the turbine, the water goes to the pump and then goes back to the reservoir.
Could we paraphrase turbine? Turbine?
No. There's no good synonym. It's very specific.
Because we did use it a lot of time.
This is where vocabulary knowledge comes in, that some things you can paraphrase, other things you can't. And when you can't paraphrase things, you need to use pronouns, right? You have to replace it with it in a very obvious way.
Could we say after passing through it, it's clear? The water goes to the pump and yeah.
Let's just see how it reads. Let's be collecting the reservoir, it's held back with the dam, the valve controls the water. I'm going to change this to a valve. Controls water flow to the turbine. The valve is open, water flows downward to reach the turbine, spins it in order to make electricity.
After passing through, it goes to the pump and then goes back.
We don't know what it's passed through. I would leave it.
Okay.
After passing through the turbine, water goes to the pump and then goes back to the reservoir. We need some more specific language here.
Yeah, it's more clear.
Yeah. So pump is both a noun and a verb. So that's not going to work. We don't want to say the pump pumps the water back to the reservoir, but what other verb could we use? What other verb could we use to describe what the pump is doing?
Push.
And same as you would use for a letter.
Send. Okay.
Sends
Send
it
back to the reservoir.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
So, okay, Dina, so yours is in two parts.
No, your lower part is, the last one is the final one.
Okay. After that. Okay.
After, I think, Marcella, or
There we
maybe
go.
before.
Yep, found it.
No,
I see.
not this. Huh. No, what happened? No.
Just this part?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
After was impaired by the sun, evaporates and forms a cloud.
Where is?
Yes, where is?
Where is controlled?
Or which is controlled?
Yep.
Subsequently, S capital.
Yep. When the valve is opened, the water flows downward due to gravity, reaching the turbine. After that, the water spins the turbine. Oh yeah, that's what you meant. Okay. Water spins the turbine, flows back to a pump where it
it is pushed.
Here the cycle begins anew. Very nice. Ah, you remember this word. This is a good phrase for any of these process diagrams. If it's a cyclical process, you can say the cycle begins anew. Anew means again, from the beginning.
It's okay. It's good use here because
yeah,
cycle.
perfect.
And we can't say pushed back. It's because it's.
Yeah, pushed is fine.
Or we can say push to the reservoir, no need back, because maybe
pushed back. It's pushed back because it's a cyclical process. If it were a linear process, then you wouldn't
maybe
say
forward.
Or you could just say push to or push toward the reservoir if it's a very straightforward process. But here, it's going upward. You could even say pushed upward to the reservoir or sent upward to the reservoir, sent upward back to the reservoir. Any of those will work.
Okay, thank you.
Making it we're on Marcella's now. Collected in one reservoir. In a reservoir. Means one. Controlled is not the best word here. Control is just, it's okay, but it's kind of general. The water flow, the flow itself is controlled by a valve. But the reservoir isn't really controlled by a dam and a valve. The reservoir is...
Sorry, can you check? I wrote it again. This is I think it's the...
Oh yeah, the last one.
Yeah, but I use the same verb, the same adjective. Yeah.
Making it evaporate to form clouds. Okay, nice. Then the rain falls and is collected in a reservoir. Controlled by a dam. A better word to use here would be contained.
Contained.
A valve after the dam opens and closes, controlling the water flow. Right. I would get rid of this. Valve. Driving and making electricity. Good. Okay, very nice. Narisa, you posted twice. Are they the same?
All the same, because for everyone, and first one only for you.
Okay, got it. All evaporates form clouds.
I try to search evaporates like not verb but noun. What is noun for evaporate?
Evaporation.
Evaporation. Oh.
Mm-hmm. So how do we put that? The sun heats water in the sea. Good.
All evaporation form cloud or no?
Simple. It evaporates. To
To the clouds.
form clouds.
Oh, to form clouds. But I want to change different sentence what we have previous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, evaporates to form clouds. And fully in it's good, or I need to search something different.
Well, you're missing the step where it falls as rain.
But I write in the relation with rain. We need to
Oh,
say
yes,
like
yes.
clouds.
Okay, I see. It evaporates to form clouds and fills.
Ah, fills.
So fill is the verb for full. And fills the reservoir
River.
when it rains. The dam and the valve are just control. Control the level of water in the reservoir. Good. Water goes through a pipe to the turbine and drive.
No, spins. Maybe it's better spins, not drive.
No. Both are great, but okay, this is something I've noticed is that you usually don't put the S on third person singular.
I try so quick and don't think about grammatic. Sorry.
No, so that's fine. In the process of language learning, it's a trade-off between accuracy and fluency. I don't know if you've heard that before. Fluency just means you talk without paying attention to accuracy. And when people start to pay attention to accuracy, their fluency tends to go down a bit. Because instead of just going with the flow and the words come out of your mouth without thinking, all of a sudden you're thinking about what you're saying, which decreases the speed at which you talk. That's a natural part of the process. So this is a systematic error that you're making, which you have to resolve. You're not going to get a high score if you're constantly making that mistake. It's like constant subject-verb disagreement. So just as part of the process of improving, this is the one issue that you can focus on like this week as a grammar challenge for yourself. Every time you say he, she, it, the process, the dog, the car, the house, always has an S with present simple. Okay, you have to fix that. Goes through a pipe to the turbine and drives it, spins it. Okay. The power, what water makes, goes to the high voltage. The power that, or which. Both are okay here. The power that water makes. What should the verb be here? It should be present simple.
Go.
I go, you go, water.
Goes?
Yes. Power goes, water goes. present simple is the most common verb tense. That's why this is so important. Goes to the high voltage cables.
Cables. You say different. We can change high voltage cables or wires.
Wires, cables, same thing.
Okay.
You can use it once, but the next time you use it, you should also paraphrase it if you use it again. Whole used water. Okay.
Can we say like goes through the high voltage cable to the what is it? Last one. A transformer station.
Mm-hmm.
Transformer station, because it's not a stay in the voltage cables. It's go through to the transformer.
Okay. So this is going to change the organization a bit, right? Just keep that in mind, that most people here are continuing the process from the turbine to the pump back to the reservoir. I'm just looking at the picture. If you go from the turbine to the high voltage cables, then you have to talk about the water's reverse process or the return process in your next paragraph. Okay, so goes to the high voltage cables. So what do you want to put next?
We need in first paragraph, we need to speak about electricity, only about electricity, or we need to put about the path of water.
Just from looking at the diagram, I think it makes more sense to...
For me, about water.
Yes, do the water process first and then the electricity distribution process second. That's like a natural division in this particular diagram. Okay, so let's save this. Let's put this back here. Whole used water. It's awkward.
Use it.
Simple. Okay, if in doubt, leave it out. Do it the simplest way possible, because simple language, or even overly simple language, is going to give you a higher score than mistakes. Okay.
Water returns to the reservoir to make the same process.
Nice. Water then returns to the reservoir.
Or better, then water returns.
Mm-hmm. Up to you, doesn't matter. Then water returns, water then returns. You can put in both spots. Returns to the reservoir to make the same process. Make
the same, like circle begins in you.
Yeah, good. So make and process don't really collocate. They don't really go together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, start a process, begin a process.
Maybe it's begin the process, the same process.
Okay. Water then returns to the reservoir to continue the same process, begin. I'm going to put continue in here. I don't love this, but it's okay. Water then returns to the other one is better. I think even you said water then returns to the reservoir and the cycle begins anew. So this is a more sophisticated way to do it, but it's a really nice way. And the cycle begins anew. And you can memorize that phrase if you ever get any kind of process diagram like this. So we're just going to get rid of this. Okay, then we've got Nariza.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last one, I think. And, oh, Oksana. The sun heats water in the sea. All evaporates, form clouds. What does that mean?
That the all evaporates from the cloud. The water evaporates.
Use.
And the water evaporates, yeah. Mm-hmm.
To form clouds. And so full is an adjective. Like after dinner, you'll say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And fills, because it's water, fills and fills in the reservoir with rain. Good. The dam and the... Sorry?
Sorry, teacher, it's mine. Use the
Yes.
same.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I thought that was you speaking. Okay.
No.
The dam and the valve control the level of water in the reservoir. Or is this your... No.
Yeah, it's mine. It's not Oksana. It's mine.
Okay. Silly me.
Specific.
No wonder that sounded so familiar. Okay. Okay, last one, Oksana's, I believe. Hydro, in this case, we do need the hydroelectric. The hydroelectricity generation process is started with, just use active voice. Simpler. Yes. Always, always, always use the simplest form of the verb you can.
Start. Mm-hmm.
Heating sun to the water with the sun heating the water. It starts with the sun heating the water, which became to evaporate. Could you simplify? Can you delete 2 words here to simplify this?
Which evaporate. Just one word, evaporate.
Okay. So you and Olfa have the same homework, which is to put the S at the end. Always, always, always. This is what I want you to think about all week long. Which evaporates and
transforms, no?
Simplify.
Which evaporates and goes to form clouds. I don't know.
Just delete 2 words.
I don't know. And clouds.
Which evaporates and forms clouds. Then rain falls and collects in the reservoir. Good, which is controlled by dam and valve. Okay, so we talked about this earlier. Controlled by is not specific enough, right? Which is held back by a dam and valve. Or you can say contained by a dam and held back by a dam. Okay. Water flow is controlled. This is where controlled comes in. After that, water goes to the turbine and through the spinning, making energy. Huh? water
No,
goes to the turbine.
Yeah, I couldn't find the right word. It's not the spinning, but something going on, right, in that turbine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so how water goes through the turbine, right? How? It's like, I don't know, I couldn't find the right.
It's not in the diagram, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, after that, water goes to the diagram, to the turbine, and delete 3 words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, out of these words that I've highlighted, delete 3 of them.
Okay. So, okay, water goes to the turbine and makes energy.
Yes.
Yes.
So here you've got a run-on sentence. You got to stop.
Oh gosh, all the time.
So, yeah, the rest of the water goes, well, it's all of the water actually, because the water just passes through the turbine. It doesn't go anywhere else. Yeah, let's get rid of this. The water goes to the pump and back to the reservoir. Other people have written and is sent back to the reservoir, or is pushed back up to the reservoir. The process ends. So we're not there yet. Okay, the first part is the water process. Your second paragraph is going to be about the process from the turbine through the cables to the transformer station, and then via underground cables to hospitals and schools. Okay, so it's too soon for this. We've only got a few minutes left, so let's just talk about this one together. I'll move it to the end here.
Actually, I wrote mine, if you...
Sure. And you put it in the chat?
I posted. Yeah, it's already in the chat.
All right, let's check it out. Following that, I don't think following that is the best transition. Because it's following what? If this comes after your previous paragraph ends with, it's pushed back to the reservoir and here the cycle begins anew. So it's not following the cycle beginning anew.
So I can leave it because I put after in the, actually because in the first paragraph I did not mention that electricity is produced. This is why I introduce here electricity is produced after the turbine being spun.
Okay, I'm a little confused because in the one that we did, you end by saying the cycle begins anew.
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
because
so
I did not said that when the turbine spins, electricity is produced. I said the water return back, or so this is why I said here. I repeated this one: electricity is produced after the turbine being spun. Okay, we can take this one, but what we will put here? No need to put anything.
I would be more direct and say, in the second part of the process, or in the second stage of the process, after, because you mentioned this already, right? After electricity is produced by the turbine, what happens?
Okay. So here.
So let's get rid of this. Power runs through long distance power lines to electric one tower?
Towers.
Towers. Where do you see long distance? Long distance power lines. That's not mentioned, so you don't need to say it. We're just going to get rid of this. Electric power runs through power lines. Power lines. Actually, high voltage cables would be better because you've got power twice. Electric power runs through power lines. So I would say runs through high voltage cables to electric towers. Here, electricity is then passed to a transformation station. Not transformer. It's always transformer station.
Yeah, because I didn't see the picture. It's from in my mind. Yeah.
Here,
transformer station.
Passed to a transformer station. Finally, underground cables are used to transfer electric power to houses, schools, hospitals, and factories. Very nice. Transfer electric power to, and if we want to use that phrase,
end user, we can say, yeah, end users in. Okay.
There's another word that I don't see many people using, and it's a good word. What do you call the long distance trains in Canada? What's that railway system called? Does anyone know?
Metro?
Well, there's an agency called Metrolinx, but that's for the GTA. What do you call our regional trains? The green trains.
Go train.
Those are GO. And what do you call the silver ones? So GO train, GO stands for Government of Ontario. Those are only regional trains in Ontario. What do you call the trains in Canada that go between provinces? You want to take a train to Quebec, for example. You have to take not GO, but
Transvia? Something.
Via.
Via.
So you can
Route.
say
Via.
right, like viaduct, but via means through, and it's a fairly sophisticated word, but it's a very common word, and it's only 3 letters, and it's great to use. So electric power runs via high voltage cables to electric towers. Okay, your choice. Runs through, runs via. All right, very nice. So we're done. Today's assignment is in 4.2a.4. Read through this several times and then try and write it from memory. A good process would be not necessarily to write it in the forum, but you can write it just from memory on paper right now, or you can type it out if you want to, and then compare it to one of these originals. This is a very old-fashioned process, but it's a very valid and it's a very effective process. It's actually more effective if you do this by hand, pencil and paper. You're engaging your whole body in that process. If you're typing, it's a little bit too efficient. You don't get as much out of it. Okay, so just write it and then compare it to the original. Another thing that you can do is to take some of these good examples and just copy them out longhand. Paper and pencil, just copy them out. Almost every single professional writer, at least at some point in his life, has improved his or her writing skills by simply copying work by their literary heroes. Okay, sounds stupid, it sounds overly simplistic, but it works. Right, if you want to become a better swimmer, what do?
Copy.
Copy, exactly. You watch professional swimmers and you copy their techniques.
And you practice, practice, practice.
Exactly.
I don't. Since Saturday, I'm doing a lot of process. So I think when you do same task, it's also good. You know, you will learn and you will have practice.
Mm-hmm. But there's a whole bunch of models. There's a model for this one that's quite similar to the one we wrote. It's written by an examiner. Copy it out several times by hand, pencil and paper, not typed, but just copy it out by hand and then put it away. Even more effective is give yourself a break, like a couple hours or even a day, and then try and write it again. So first part, copy it out longhand, put your stuff away, and then come back to it. Right? If you do it too quickly, you're relying on like short-term memory. You got to let it sit a little bit, write it out. You're going to make mistakes, but then you look at your work, you look at the original, and you look at your mistakes, and then you figure out how to fix them based on comparing to the original. Then do your writing in the forum, and I'll tell you whether you made any mistakes or not. Okay, mistakes are part of the learning process. No mistakes means no learning.
The homework 4.2?
4.2a.4. It's in the file name and it's at the very top. I'm going to share this with you in just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for today. It's 9 o'clock. I wish you a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.